Hey guys, welcome back. It's time for an interview. We're going to do a phone call with Avoc from Liquid Marketplace. Now that the Liquid Marketplace, the shit has seemed to hit the fan. We're going to ask him what he thinks of it. At this point, is he ready to call it a scam? Does he have anything to say about any of the small details that we're going to run by him today? Stay tuned and find out. It's going to be a good one. It's always a good one. Disclaimer, these are all my opinions. This is all me expressing my concerns and doing some digging to see whether those concerns are valid or not. Have your own concerns, have your own opinions. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong on anything. Anyone that's involved is welcome to share their story. Again, Avoc, this is going to be, if this is full context, this is the entirety of the phone conversation between the two of us. So keep that in mind. I'll probably follow up with some parallel conflicting information and or anything that is provably false that he tells me in this phone call. Now, Liquid Marketplace. If you've been tuning into the channel, if you need to catch up, there are a lot of videos. There are 21 videos in this playlist here. And yes, it all links into everyone's favorite series, the fake case with the G.I. Joe cards inside of it that was supposed to go on Liquid Marketplace. And again, it all kind of draws a parallel to what seems to be happening over and over again, where Logan is part or is the face of these NFT crypto type projects. Maybe not would think, though. I think he wasn't, or he pretended that he wasn't. Okay. Regardless, let's move on. Here's the founding team for anyone that needs to reference it. This is Shine. And I know it doesn't say Shine there, Director of Assets, but more commonly referred to as Shine, just in case you need some reference to who we're talking about in the call itself. And yes, so at this point in time, we have the Ontario Securities Commission, who is taking some action, who is doing some investigating of their own. Now they have a little bit more, tools at their disposal where they can actually look into stuff, where they can force out information that otherwise, they're probably not going to turn it over to me. So this is an interesting watch. I've covered this in a previous video, but now that this is out, it's going to be interesting, right? What does Avoc think of Liquid Marketplace now at this point in time? Is he going to be surprised Pikachu that some bad stuff was going on? That it looks like the founders. The co-founders were doing bad things and extracting money from investors and users of the platform, sort of like I was calling all along. And now I did warn. I warned everyone involved with Liquid Marketplace. I warned Logan Paul through DMs. He answered those DMs and he didn't seem concerned. Now, that's weird. You would think after, a couple bad things happening with a couple platforms that you were involved with, that you would be, a little bit worried, a little bit more open to information coming from somebody who supposedly saved you $2.7 million on a G.I. Joe case that, according to Sean, you didn't pay for or weren't going to pay for. You were going to put it on the platform instead. It all looks pretty bad from everyone involved. And now, is it all going to come out? Are all the people that enriched themselves from this project, are they all going to get punished for it? I feel very sorry, and hopefully this is at least something for the people that are, left in the dark. The people that invested money into this company. Now, I don't think that everything that we're gonna hear today is truthful information coming from Avoc. That's my opinion. Again, maybe my internal sources that have been extremely right all along, maybe they're lying to me. I don't think they would have any reason to, but regardless, we have some articles here, and these are the ones that I sent to Avoc. OSC accuses Toronto's Liquid Marketplace and 3 top executives of fraud. It looked like that. It looked like that all along. I mean, when you're naming your shell companies where you're pumping money into after a slur for people who take it in the butthole, some pretty damning evidence that you meant to rip people off all along. Crypto collectible scheme duped investors, OSC alleges. And here's just the DMs of me sending it to Avoc so that he could read it before our conversation. And here, without further ado, here is the conversation. Please let me know what you guys think down below. If you catch anything that's a little sketchy, if you think he's telling the truth, if you think he's lying, if you think we need to do some more digging. Again, if anyone else from Liquid Marketplace would like to have a conversation with me, you're welcome to do so. It doesn't necessarily need to be this long, but here it is.
Hello?
Hello, is this Avoc?
Yes, sir. How's it going?
Pretty good. Either a little bit busy, but other than that,
Yeah, fair
things are
enough.
going good. Thank you for chatting with me.
Yeah, happy to.
I have kind of a bunch of stuff that I'd like to touch on, so maybe we can go through that, and then if there's anything else that comes to mind that you'd like to share, welcome to do so.
I will say, just to preface everything,
Okay.
that obviously, I was doing a lot with social media. I was an intern, and I was working there while in school as well. So I graduated 2 months ago. But obviously haven't worked at Liquid for over a year. So I can help you as much as I can. I can't promise I'll know everything you need to know, but why don't we just start with some questions and we'll see how it goes.
Okay. I guess first of all, I have to ask, was I actually referred to as the Liquid Marketplace boogeyman?
Not
internally.
Not me. The first time I heard that was from you, I think. So.
Okay. Yeah, I heard it. That was my nickname on the inside, but
no, I don't think so. Usually just called you Rattle or Mike sometimes, I guess.
Okay, that's like Ryan, basically.
I mean, well, whenever you post a video, it'd say, "Oh, Rattle posted a video about us." But that's kind of as far as it went. The first time I heard Liquid Marketplace Boogeyman was last time you called me, and you introduced yourself as that, and I was like, I don't know what the fuck that is, but
it would have been better if you knew. I mean, it was a little weird if I introduced myself as that, and if you didn't hear it. So after you looked through the documents that I sent you, or the articles?
Yeah, I read the article. Yeah.
Okay, so are you under the impression that Liquid Marketplace is or was a scam at this point?
Well, it's hard to say that I'm under the impression of that because, when I was working there and everything I did was with the intent to actually create a legitimate product. Anything else that happened in terms of how money was spent was obviously, as an intern, definitely outside of my sort of view of things.
Mm-hmm.
So from my understanding, shitty things happened, but I couldn't tell you that the whole thing was a scam because, I was employed there. We had other people employed there who were actually building something, and, as rudimentary as the platform may be, technically it does function as it's supposed to. So it's really unfortunate how things turned out. It was very shocking, very disappointing, and very hurtful to me personally. But I wouldn't say that at least it wasn't communicated to me if it was set up from the beginning to be a scam. So I guess yes and no.
I mean, there's some pretty damning stuff, like I guess the investor money, and then the shell companies that were kind of created to push money to, and them kind of playing around with slurs for it.
And that's a big part of the reason why it's like I said, it's hurtful to me personally because I really did think we were creating something positive, regardless of how people felt about fractional ownership or whatever, and regardless of the platform ran, whether it wasn't so smooth at times. I was proud of what we had, so it's really it was really shocking to see that this was kind of happening, I guess, behind the scenes.
Okay. Yeah. Were you working mostly out of the office, or some of the time?
Well, I would come in sometimes. Really depended on my class schedule. And then during the summer, I was there a little bit more frequently. But yeah, really just depending on my class schedule.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you mentioned working on the social media stuff. Were you ever working on the back end or anything on the tech side of Liquid?
No, I'm not a coder. I'm not a programmer. Right now I get ChatGPT to make basic HTML stuff for me. I don't know how to do any of that.
Okay. So like in terms of any of the like admin access or anything like that, did you have any of that?
No, access to the platform backend, never had access to that. That was just people with a tech background. I never really had any, need to have access to that. So.
Okay, yeah. I just had heard that that you kind of had access to that stuff, or you were trying to do that stuff. So
I had access to the support backend, if that's what you mean.
Okay.
Like I was able to, view tickets.
anything on like the token,
Like
on the token or on the XP or
No, creating tokens, adding XP to accounts or whatever. That was, I think that was all done out of house, to be honest. So.
Okay. So there wasn't actually like liquid marketplace employees that were doing any of that stuff?
It was for some of it, and then once it became sort of like routine, just run a code to process a vote or run a code to do whatever, then I don't know how much of that was under whose supervision, but initially, obviously, it was developed by actual people at Liquid Marketplace, right? So.
Yeah. So have you watched all of my videos? Like all the way up to the last two? Okay. Some of the older ones while you were there?
Sometimes.
Okay.
But I never really watch any of them. To be honest, obviously some information is useful, some information is interesting, but also like your videos are coming from like obviously an outside perspective. So I don't know, there wasn't really anything like that was necessary for me to watch. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So did you have access to all the like social media numbers, like Instagram, Discord, and everything like that?
Yeah. So I had Instagram access for a little while. Then someone else came and kind of took that over. Obviously, I was still the guy who was kind of the face for some parts of things. So they were filming me for the videos on Instagram. Discord, I did have access to that. That was more the main thing I was kind of running when I was there. So.
Okay. So like those numbers, they didn't concern you at all? That was kind of like one of the biggest things that I had brought up, was mostly just the fact that like the lack of interaction on like all the social media stuff on the Discord itself, like having, it's a good Q&A when there's 10 people in there kind of thing.
Sure.
And even with like giveaways and stuff like that, like to me that just kind of looks like everything else is kind of faked or fluffed to appear like something that it's not. If there's like,
well, I don't really
I'm not expecting
like
every
interactions are a good way to measure actual platform usage. Like you go to most brands, like if you look at big brands and look at their interactions, especially when you relate it to customers that the company may have or even followers, the reactions are usually like pretty tiny. Like I remember looking at social media accounts for other players in the fractional ownership business, and we would just out of interest use their sort of interactions to followers ratios to gauge estimated user counts, and you don't expect to have big numbers of interactions on corporate accounts, unfortunately, unless, depends on the type of social media marketing you're doing. Maybe ours just wasn't that good, but it seemed pretty typical for everything we looked at.
Yeah. It just kind of blows me, like where there's like articles where Ryan is claiming there's like 80,000 users or something like that, and to have 80,000 users that are essentially investing into this platform. That
80,000 users means 80,000 people created accounts, right? And that is a real number. I actually think the amount of users, individual people that created accounts, is higher than 80,000. I don't remember the exact number, but that's doesn't really matter how many people follow on Instagram or interact. That's based on individual users who decided to sign up. I'm sure there's tons of things you're signed up for, places you shop, things you use. Like, I don't know if you ever eat McDonald's, but you're not following McDonald's on Instagram, I would think. Not that that's a perfect analogy, but I think that 80,000 users does not mean we expect to get any big percentage of that for interactions and stuff, but yeah, we have, in terms of signups, I don't know how many funded accounts. That's something I don't know, but in terms of signups, yeah, it'll go over 80,000.
Okay, and that was probably early on because that was still like interview kind of phase, I guess.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I have no idea. I didn't see any mention of like numbers after that or other than that, but
Yeah.
the held back tokens, I think it was you that originally mentioned it, that like there were some held back for giveaways, or there was some conversation that happened on the Discord about that.
Yeah,
So
yeah, we gave away tokens. Yeah.
okay, and was that just on Liquid Dime or?
So that, I don't exactly like. I never determined the price of items that were listed. But like the total amount of tokens that exist for every item is based on the originally created tokens, which is shown for each item on the platform. So there weren't any like, if you go on the platform, you look at whatever card and it says 25,000 tokens or 250,000 tokens or whatever it is exists for that card. There weren't like additional over that, but maybe there was less that were listed for sale initially or something. Again, that was kind of not my decision or something I did, but yeah, there weren't any extra tokens. Yeah.
So they weren't like created extra, they were just the ones that were held back to begin with.
No, exactly, yeah. Yeah, I guess held back would mean that they weren't listed in the initial item offering or whatever they were called. Drops.
Okay. There was never any mention to you of whether or not there were tokens held back just because an item couldn't sell?
That was not mentioned to me at all. So
okay. Yeah, because
it seemed like, I guess, a higher up decision.
It seems like from what I heard from my sources and from, I guess, the documentation that was on the website is that there weren't any to be held back in the initial business model at inception. There was no mention of anything like that.
Like the initial business model, you mean like 2019, 2020?
Yeah,
or like when the platform launched in 2021?
When it launched, I guess.
Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe. I mean, even when it launched, like, that I had only been there for a few months and I was really mostly focused on school, so I definitely wouldn't have known anything about what the business model was or if it changed or stuff like that.
Okay. So, Ed covered it, but I guess the biggest, one of the most alarming things is the fact that there were a lot of the tokens that weren't actually even minted. So I don't know if that's something that you came across or that was news, like if you saw it in my video or my coverage.
Yeah, I do remember when you made a video about that. And at the time, from what I was told, we were transferring like providers. So because like it just, it's pretty expensive to mint things and we were in the process of transferring, I'm pretty sure that was the reason why that happened. I will say, like, the guarantee of the tokens equaling the item is guaranteed by the company, not, like the company is the one who would guarantee that, not like as novel as it is to use cryptocurrency. I don't know if that stands up in court as much as a company's contract to its users, So, yeah, like that to me is not super concerning. Obviously, I can see where you're coming from. I don't know when things were made, if they were made, what the decision process was there, other than what I was told. But yeah, I don't know if that's as big an issue.
Okay, and that was kind of like that was an explanation that you got from Ryan, or?
Yeah, Ryan, from everyone, I guess. I guess it would have been Ryan. This was like a year ago you made that video, right? I'm not exactly sure.
It's been a while. No, I'm not
sure
on the exact date, but yeah. So basically, I made the video, and then like it was months later, kind of after the tokens were, supposed to be minted. They weren't minted. I made a video about it, and then magically some of them got minted. I don't think ever at any point all of them were minted, but.
Okay.
But yeah, I think it was some of the very important items. I think it was like the 10 Illustrator was one of them, which is kind of an important one. But
sure.
But yeah.
Yeah, so, like I said, I don't think that has any actual like legal bearing on the items and anything. But if it's an issue for
Yeah.
you, then I guess, yeah, I don't know exactly when things were changed or when, if they were, so.
Mm-hmm. It was kind of like a big selling point, though. Like Ryan was going on doing interviews saying how important it was that it was on the blockchain and everything else. And if it wasn't on the blockchain, then I don't think that's
Sure, and that's
necessarily
really
the
important,
issue, but
especially when things
to
are
tell people.
sold, things are voted, because then those like changes, I guess, can get uploaded. But I don't know. Like, again, this is not my decision making, nor do I know what the process was. But I'm sure it's pretty expensive to continuously upload things to a blockchain when there's no pressing reason to do so. Again, that's just my interpretation. But yeah, like, again, if you're super focused on this, like, I got to be honest, I don't know really much else other than just personal ideas of how cryptocurrency works. So I don't really have too much else on this, unfortunately. So
yeah, that's okay. Yeah, I'm just mostly just any of the, I guess, the internal kind of workings or justification or anything like that you can provide is
sure.
totally
Yeah, I think
appreciated.
it's
But
kind of the same thing that
if it
was
was
Cole
hidden,
said before. Like, I don't know anything else. Like I said, these weren't my decisions, so I only know what was told to me, and basically everything that was told to me was expressed through town halls, Q&As, whatever, Discord messages, stuff like that.
I guess another thing, I guess it kind of lends into the like social media numbers and stuff like that, is the seemingly mostly LMP associated people, like their accounts with large round numbers of XP, when that's not really how the XP is generated, was kind of concerning to me. So I don't know if that was like tokens that were.
I'm not 100% sure what you're talking about. What can you be a little more specific?
Yeah. So like the leaderboards, the XP on the platform itself.
Yeah.
You had large accounts that were like, I mean, a lot of them were pretty obviously people that were employees and or working partnered with Liquid Marketplace.
Okay.
And then those large accounts with the large numbers of XP also happen to have like large round numbers, so they'd have like zeros, like 2, 3 zeros at the end of them, indicating that like it's probably just XP that was artificially added onto the account. At least
so I
do
actually remember these kind of conversations because XP and that sort of gamification angle was a group idea of trying to stimulate engagement. So the XP, I remember when they were communicating this to developers, is applied like automatically on back end based on trades and purchases and everything like that. So if there were accounts with large numbers, and it meant that they would have purchased large quantities of things. I think you're talking about like kind of around when that big Illustrator was dropped. I know there were some accounts with pretty large XP content because people did buy pretty large quantities of the Illustrator. So maybe that's what you're talking about. I will say, just because this was also something I kind of ran, that no employee or person associated with Liquid in any capacity other than being a user ever like won any giveaways that were because of like used XP to, and that sort of leaderboard, I guess, to, so if you want to reach a certain level, you can enter a giveaway and receive like extra tokens. I don't know exactly. I don't remember what it was exactly. It was a while ago. I know for sure we gave away some cards. And every single one of those cards went to users. Actually, one user won a couple of them, which is pretty lucky for them.
There was like a trip or something, wasn't there? Like I don't know if it was a trip to Liquid or a trip to the Nationals or something like that.
I'm specifically talking about like trading cards that were given away. Anything else was not under my decision making at all. But for XP, right, once you reach a certain tier, then we would give away cards. I think we gave away like I seem to recall a victory ring, like the Japanese trophy, PSA 9 maybe. Pretty expensive card, obviously. I think we gave away like some Yu-Gi-Oh card. Maybe it was like a Blue Eyes Toon Dragon PSA 10. Yeah, every single one of those giveaway cards went to users. And none of those big accounts that purchased the Illustrator. Like I know the specific users that won them just because I did the random number generator there. So, yeah, it was pretty lucky for them. So they did pretty well. So, congrats to them.
Yeah. So with Shine, how did he accumulate so many points?
How many, like XP?
Yeah.
You're
XP.
saying?
Yeah.
No idea. I guess he was buying. Maybe he put in money to buy some cards or something. But I never.
Yeah, he was like one of the.
Account.
He was one of the ones with like the really large round numbers, but he also told me that he had never used the app.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you're kind of like a higher net worth individual, if you wanted to buy tokens, you can wire the money directly to us. Any user could, right? But then they could also like ask or have someone else use their account or whatever. I don't know whether Matt logged in or not, personally, but anything that was bought on his account was his doing, whether he was the one clicking the buttons or he had someone else do it or not. I don't know. I don't know why his account would be used for anything else. He certainly didn't win any of the giveaway cards, so I don't think he would need them. He's got a very impressive collection. So anything he did, like I don't know what any XP on his account would have done or would have been accumulated by. I don't know what he bought, but yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
Mm-hmm. I was under the impression that he didn't purchase anything. I know he was like providing some of the cards for the platform,
maybe he did purchase
and or
stuff.
had his position was supposed to be, according to from what he told me at least, that he was searching for cards to be put on the platform.
Yep. So,
so would he get XP
maybe
for that?
He did. Nope, but maybe he did buy stuff. I don't know. I don't know what he did or not. You'd have to. Not that we would, could, I guess, give you the information, but I guess there is a summary of his account somewhere. And if he has concerns about that, I'm sure he can ask. He has everyone's number. He can text someone and they'll probably tell him. But yeah, like I said, whatever XP he may have had, like he didn't win any of the card giveaways or anything. So just a number on a screen at that point if he's not getting anything from it. I don't think he never entered in any of the giveaways. I never entered his account name. I specifically, even when I was uploading my own money and buying cards on the platform just as a user, I remember Ryan said, hey, why not? You are a user, you're spending money on fees and stuff. Why not enter your name in the giveaway? And I specifically elected not to. Same for any other Liquid employees or affiliates because, one, I felt it wouldn't be right, even though, yes, I am spending money as a user. And two, it's just a lot more fun when, strangers and people around the world can win cards. And, yeah, we sent cards all across the world. So it was pretty exciting. But Matt, regardless of whatever tier he was in a given month, was never added into any card giveaways. So I don't know if whatever XP he had, what that would have mattered to. And I guess you only know what he said about what he bought. I don't even know how much XP he had. So.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and check. I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah.
It just seemed a lot like those like bigger Liquid Marketplace accounts were maybe being, I guess vessels or places to park a lot of the tokens that weren't selling. Was my concern, I guess.
Oh, that's why you're asking. I was like really confused why you were concerned about Matt winning a giveaway or something. Yeah, I have no idea if tokens were placed in other accounts or not. I was never told anything other than that things sold out. So that's, I have no idea.
Yeah, because I think Matt said that there was a bunch of stuff that didn't sell out, but then I don't know what actually did or didn't, and some stuff that disappeared.
I mean, some things didn't sell out and we delisted them. I remember we tried to sell like a McDavid RPA and that didn't fill, so it was delisted. But yeah, I have no idea if stuff didn't sell and was kept. That was not my understanding at all. So.
Mm-hmm. At any point, did you become like concerned about Ryan spending money?
So I never knew he was really spending money. Like, obviously, I knew he had I think even Mike, in one of your videos, you pointed out that he was on a vacation or something, maybe, right? But
Yeah, I think there were quite a few vacations.
yeah, no,
And
I do remember either hearing about or watching that video. But no, I was always just told that he had a successful construction career in the past, and that's where things are coming from. And yeah, I don't know any differently. I've obviously read the documents, so I know what the OSC is kind of like alleging. Again, I don't know. I haven't really talked to him about this since. I don't really feel like I kind of want to talk to him either. So it's like, at this point, it's between him and the OSC what he did. But no, I wasn't ever concerned because I had no idea that it was anything other than his own money, right?
His own money, yeah. I mean, it seemed like Liquid Marketplace was kind of flipping the bill for quite a bit in terms of like flights and guests and employees and stuff like that.
Maybe. I mean, I certainly never got anything luxurious out of it. I went on two trips with the company. One was just a road trip to the Atlantic City, and then for the National, and we stopped in New York along the way.
Okay.
And yeah, we just, trust me, do not stay anywhere fancy, especially not in Atlantic City. But and then the other trip I went on was my first year there for Mint Collective. I think that was 2021. That was in Vegas, and yeah, there was no private jet for that. That was we didn't even pay to get seated together. We were all kind of sitting in different spots. So yeah, I don't know when any sort of trips were happening with the company money or excess spending with the company money. Maybe that was used to treat clients or something. I don't know. But that definitely wasn't something that was made aware to me or any, I guess, ground floor employees,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I did hear about the Vegas thing. So I'm glad you brought that up. So was it just you and your girlfriend that went to Vegas?
No, there was
other
a couple other people from Liquid there. Yeah, we set up a whole booth. I met Gary King Pokemon there, which was pretty cool. I got a card signed by him. I think he's a really cool guy in the community, so it was great to meet him. I know you know him as well, Mike. So that was a definitely cool trip. I was still either 19 or 20 then, so it's funny. I can drink in Canada, couldn't drink there, so I didn't get to partake in any of the gambling or anything in the casinos there. But it was really fun working the booth, meeting a lot of people at Mint. I bought some cards for myself. And yeah, just seeing, Vegas is pretty cool. I'd go again there someday for an actual vacation. But yeah, myself, they were nice enough to invite my girlfriend. And I just, covered some of that myself. But
they paid for some of her accommodations, or?
I don't think the company did. I think it was kind of like, I'm in helping out there, I would have paid for it myself fully, but I wasn't really, I was 19. I wasn't working too much then. But yeah, I don't even think Ryan went on that trip.
So did Amin make it sound like he was personally paying it for it?
Again, this was 3 years ago, so I don't remember exactly. Yeah. But we definitely didn't get meals covered and stuff. And other than that, things were taken care of. I was being paid to work there during that time, especially during the booth. My girlfriend was also working the booth as well. She had her whole Liquid get up on and was answering questions and actually working there too. So wasn't exactly a vacation. There was obviously nice just to, especially after the convention was done, seeing in the evenings. It was a great city, but yeah, I wouldn't call it a vacation by any means. So
okay, yeah, it was a work trip.
Yeah.
Cool. Did you receive any other kind of gifts or anything that wasn't just your initial salary?
No, I never got any of the whatever bonuses that may or may not have been given out. I never saw any of that.
They didn't give you any cards or tokens?
No, no, no. No cards. I got, especially during the Toronto Expo, the first Expo I did. They gave me like a raise after that because I was like, I don't know, super energetic, whatever. It was a fun expo, first real time working at an expo. So, but no gifts, no bonuses. Yeah, I think maybe I did take a lot of liquid shirts at the end, so I don't know, maybe those aren't cheap. I got like 20 of them. I use them as gym shirts.
I don't know. I don't know if you maybe you look tough at the gym. If
Yeah, hey,
if it
people
all
think the
crumbles
logo is
and
cool, you know? People think the
yeah,
Sorrel,
it's
honestly, the
like
logo is pretty cool, so.
what else we got? What did Ryan end up saying anything to you after you took a picture with me?
um, oh, yeah, it's, whatever. What, that was Toronto Expo as well, right, at the arena signing?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
no,
at
that's funny. I mean, we
the
laughed
regional.
about it. Yeah, the
Okay.
regional, right. We laughed about it, thought it was pretty funny, like, I know Ryan can be a little intense, I guess, on calls and stuff, but I don't really think he ever had any, like, serious ill will towards you, you know what I
Okay.
mean? Like, you're making your videos, that's up to you, right? So, I think we just kind of had a big laugh over it. It was pretty funny. So,
Cool.
yeah.
So you said that you did invest in Liquid Marketplace. Are you okay with, are you allowed to share any of those
Invest, I
numbers
wouldn't say no, but I put money onto
onto
like,
the
I never
platform?
invested, but I bought cards on the platform. Yeah.
Okay. So you bought tokens
Yeah, still holding them.
and
I
you
bought a
haven't
lot of
cashed
like
out any of them?
I probably did sell and cash some out. Not recently, you know, I haven't logged on in a long time, but I do remember I did not. I still own a good portion of the EV PSA 10 trio, Vaporeon, Jolteon, Flareon, First Edition Hollows from Jungle. That was like, you know, I think I still may even have an open buy order on that because I was trying to buy up as much as I could. I thought they were cool cards, but I never withdrew that money. But I think at some point I must have done a few withdrawals, at least for testing purposes.
Okay. Do you have like a general idea of how much you put in and how much you took out?
Took out, I don't exactly remember. I definitely put in less than 10,000. This is just like personal money I had from, you know, summer jobs and stuff. I used to work at a little comic book store in Toronto, and salary from Liquid as well. Like, I really liked the platform. I thought the concept was novel. I still think it is novel, whether or not it was well received. But fractional ownership is pretty interesting to me. So, yeah, I thought probably somewhere $5,000-7,000 worth of stuff over 3 years, maybe.
Okay. Was the salary pretty generous? I'm not gonna pry to.
I mean, no, I mean, like, you know, I'm not. It was slightly more than minimum wage,
Okay.
which is
Was it
great
like
for, you know, someone.
hourly or was it an actual
No,
salary?
no, it was hourly. Was it hourly? I think it might have been hourly at the very beginning, for like a 3-month probation or whatever.
Okay.
I guess, like, you know, companies hire someone for a 3-month probation period, and then after that, it was salary. And yeah, again, like minimum wage meaning whatever the minimum wage over a salary period ends up being. So it wasn't like, you know, obviously not kind of. I was able to work at the thing, helped pay for alcohol, other stuff, so clothes, I guess, and let me sort of kickstart my collection a lot more because that was my first real job. So yeah, it was good. But yeah, nothing crazy, unfortunately, I guess.
Was there any like incentive for employees to buy tokens? Like, was there any benefit, or you just had to buy them as a regular civilian?
Yeah, I bought them as
There
a
was
civilian.
okay. There
No
wasn't like any
benefit.
like
I had to
price. There wasn't any
sort of,
matching or anything like that. If you
no matching. It's not like an employee equity program or something. There's no matching.
Mhm.
I had to pay the credit card fees to upload money just like everyone else, or the wire transfer fee, whatever I did. And yeah, like it was fun, but there was no like incentive to do it. It was just because I actually, you know, liked the idea of buying and selling parts like that. It was interesting.
Did at any point did they stop paying you, or was it like a hassle to get paid?
It was never like a hassle per se, but at some point I did kind of like leave the company and still kind of help out. So like every time I would help out, then I would get compensation for the hours I worked. So it was like a very different arrangement.
Prior to that, did they
yeah.
let you go or like cut ties on the salary position, or was that your choice to leave?
Well, I was probably getting out of things anyways, and like it was wouldn't necessarily say a mutual decision, but I wasn't like let go. It was kind of like this is where we're at. We don't really need someone for all this time, and I wasn't really doing much anyway. So it was like, yeah, like I'm focusing on my own stuff anyway. So whenever you guys need me, just give me a shout.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that worked pretty well because for a few months I was still kind of helping out. Up until I guess semi-recently, I kept ties with everybody, right? So, yeah, it was okay.
Okay. Did you notice any other employees that kind of like mysteriously weren't there anymore?
Not mysteriously, no. Like everyone who was there and left, whether they were let go or whether they left on their own, was definitely like there was never any hiding of that. There was one employee who decided to go on a vacation, and then she just kind of never came back. So eventually we assumed that meant she quit. So I guess that's the most mysterious thing. I guess that's it.
Okay. Are you allowed to tell me who that was?
I'd rather not. Okay. I don't know. It's not allowed. I'd just rather not. But they still post pictures from the place they went, so I assume they're doing all right.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I mean, the whole thing with the employees, some of the employees not working there anymore or not having any ties to it, and then them still kind of being on the website was a little bit odd. I mean, it would have been more odd, I guess, if they cut ties with all these people or if they didn't have money for these employees to pay these employees. At least that's kind of what I'm hearing from them, is that...
You're saying they were still, like their faces were still on the website? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So, and then honestly, some of them were gradually removed. They weren't
super dedicated to, honestly, the bookkeeping sort of side of things, record keeping, not bookkeeping, that's financial, but record keeping in terms of okay, someone left, so we have to do this. Someone joined, so we have to do this. That was never, unfortunately, kept up with too much. We definitely should have had better policies in place just for organization. But yeah, if someone left, yeah, we weren't immediately, okay, we got to go remove their face from the website. I don't think that ever crossed anyone's mind, at least not my mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, at that point, if there's there's not really anyone there anymore, then I mean, it's not, you can't really have nothing on there, or it might look bad as well. But
so, I mean, there was never a period where there was nobody there, until kind of at the end, right? But, yeah, I wasn't really thinking about the website at that point. Maybe that was someone else's decision. But yeah, there wasn't exactly a point where there was nobody there, until there wasn't really too much to do, right? So
yeah. Well, that's the thing too, is just I have people telling me that employees were let go because the funding or the funds weren't available to pay them. But then at the same time, I see Ryan spending money on his second girlfriend, and buying sports cars, Porsches, and vacations, and this.
Pretty sure that's her car. I don't know what the vacations, but I am confident that that's her car. So I don't know about that. But
it had a big bow on it, so I don't know if she has another boyfriend or.
Again, I don't know, but again, who knows? Clearly, things that I've been told turned out not to be the case anyway. So I guess I don't really know. But yeah, if you're,
I mean, that and all the jewelry
beating around the bush of that, Ryan took money when we couldn't pay employees. I have no idea. If that's the case, that would really suck. But I can't say, I can't confirm or deny that, obviously, only that, if that's true, it would be really unfortunate. This whole thing has kind of been a bit of a gut punch, especially the couple days after that article came out. It was very new information to me. And yeah, it obviously, part of working there meant having some sort of pride. Definitely had a lot of pride in what the company was doing and trying to do. And obviously things didn't always work out the way we wanted and what I wanted them to work out, but I still had, pride in the company because I'd been there for a while and it was interesting. I had made friends there, so it was hurtful to see what happened. And yeah, who knows what else was going on behind the scenes, whether that's, people couldn't get paid for those reasons or for other reasons. I sincerely hope that wasn't the case, but I obviously can't be certain at this point, right?
Right. Was there anything mentioned, I guess, internally or that you've overheard about why Logan was removed from the website? Like if he's a co-founder or he's acting as a co-founder.
Yeah. No, for sure. I think that was his own, because he was worried, because there was some stuff happening with Crypto Zoo or whatever, and I think he didn't want any negative reputation to have repercussions that would hurt Liquid Marketplace. So that was what my understanding of that.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's necessarily the best call.
Sorry?
I guess maybe trying to hide his association with it is worse than just kind of explaining that it's two separate things. Similar to how Ryan kind of lost his
people can be, cool. Right? Whatever the headline says is typically, headlines as far as a lot of people read, and not excluding myself from that in a lot of cases. Obviously, being someone more familiar with the situation, I can understand sort of the nuance here, but someone completely unrelated seeing a headline of, Logan Paul did something with Crypto Zoo, here's a list of everything else he's had his hands on, obviously that could be detrimental. I'm sure you can see, regardless of whether damage control was done there. So, again, that's, his decision, or someone else's decision. It wasn't, I'm not his personal advisor in that case, so, maybe it was the right decision, maybe it wasn't, but that is the decision, so.
Yeah. I think I'm trying to recall the actual wording for it, but I'm sure Ryan told me that it had something to do with the fact that they were paying for Logan's advertising. So I don't know, was it an exchange of that sort that to put his name on there it was costing money or?
No, I just think maybe that was the case.
Or that it was
but from my understanding, no. Logan was a co-founder of the company. I don't recall ever hearing that he was paid to do anything. I think he made 1-2 Instagram posts regarding Liquid. One that was kind of an announcement, and one with Ken Golden, handing over some assets to the vault. So, I don't think he would have been paid for that. He's a co-founder. It's partially his company. So, again, who knows? That seems like.
How closely did you work with Katerina, Leanna, and Eric, and Dennis, I guess?
Eric, okay, yeah. So Katerina, I think I met once or twice.
Okay.
Again, I think she and Ryan were together when I was mostly in school, so I was rarely in the office. So, I have no idea when she was there, what she was doing, or whatever, but the only times I saw her was once at a Comic-Con or Fan Expo or whatever the one they have in Toronto is. She had just come with Ryan as a guest, I guess. I don't know. So we didn't have a booth or anything, right? So, and then maybe I saw her one other time. But yeah, I never got a chance to get to know her very well. Leanna, again, I think the only times I ever saw Leanna, so she was working at Vegas as well, helping her out with the booth and everything. I think that was the first time I met her. And then maybe I've seen her once or twice, in social settings. Eric was doing customer support, so he was like the main guy answering all those tickets and everything. He's a great guy. I consider him a very good friend. We used to sit together, so had a cute little office friendship going on there. And then, sorry, who else did you say? Dennis?
Yeah, Dennis as well.
Gotcha. Yeah, Dennis always seemed like pretty serious, and obviously he's considerably older. Not to be mean to Dennis, not calling him old, but he is considerably older than me specifically. And I think he was probably the most senior in terms of age person there, so I never really got super close with him. But he's again he seemed like a nice guy. Sometimes he would buy us lunch. Yeah. Listen, Mike. Can I call you back in 2 minutes? I just got to go down an elevator.
Yeah.
Okay, I will call you back. Or I guess you're a private number, so you call me back.
Yeah, I'll call you right back.
All right.
I'll give you 3 minutes.
Yeah. Hey, Mike.
Hello. Got you back?
Yeah, thanks for calling back. Yeah, I had to grab some food, so I had to go down an elevator.
Oh, yeah, no problem. Where were we? Oh yeah, the people that I mentioned. I guess there have been a few concerns, and I guess I'm also equally concerned that there's maybe some people that were getting a salary from the company that weren't necessarily doing much at the company. Whether it be like Ryan's, girlfriend at the time, Amin's wife, and then Amin's wife's cousin, and then Dennis is also related to Amin. And then also, I guess with the information coming out that they had companies that they were moving money to, it kind of makes it look a whole lot worse that they're also hiring family. And then when I talked to Katerina, it didn't sound like she knew anything that was going on at Liquid Marketplace. So it's weird that she's on all the documents from the founding of the company, if she had no idea what was going on there, or if she was getting a salary.
I hear what you're saying for sure. So, I mean, the one thing I can say for sure is that, this is just based on my own experience as, a business student. So, it's a startup company. I'm not really surprised that, significant others were helping out. Obviously, this isn't the easiest startup to even begin. A lot of tech involved and, a lot of managerial stuff involved too, I'm sure. So, yeah, I'm not surprised that, the people's significant others were helping out. I have no idea what salaries they took, if any. It's not like I was an HR intern or something, right? So I have never seen payroll for anybody else other than myself. So, yeah, that's as far as, you mentioned Katerina and Amin's wife as well. The other people you mentioned, Dennis and Eric, they were actually working there, so I assume they received salaries. I hope they did for their own sake. Dennis being related to Amin, I think that's I think there's many degrees of separation there. There's some divorces involved and whatever. So I don't know if that's the Dennis Amin family mafia thing going on. I don't know exactly what the nature of their relationship is, but from my understanding of just witnessing interactions and asking a few questions back when I was there, is that it's not like they were they were never going to family dinners together. You know what I mean? I don't think they were close, both sides of the family. So, but yeah, still, I hope he was earning a salary. He was working. Same with Eric. The other two, if they were helping out, I think they obviously deserve to be compensated for it, but I have no idea about the nature of exactly what they were helping out with, or what that compensation package looked like.
I think that's helpful. Just if you didn't see them working, it doesn't mean that they weren't working, but I appreciate you discussing, I guess, whether or not you saw the people actively contributing, I guess, in regards to...
Yeah, by the time I was sort of transitioning out of school and spending more time in office, I only ever worked side by side with Eric. You're at the same desk. Dennis was there pretty consistently as well. But yeah, that's kind of it.
Yeah, because there's nothing, there's no reason you can't hire family. I mean, people say advise not to do it, but as long as it's not family that are being hired just to extract a salary and another gateway to pull money from the company.
Yeah, 100%. And like I said, like I hope that wasn't the case. You know, but I don't know what exactly was going on. That was also very early on in the company. You know, by the time I was more involved was, you know, obviously it's not like the company is a decade old. It's a pretty short lifespan anyways, but that was still closer to the more mature end of the company's life cycle, you know? So,
Mm-hmm. Next, I don't have, what did you overhear or what did you, I guess, know, or what were you around for in terms of like the fake G.I. Joe case that was supposed to be on Liquid?
yeah. That was super early on before the platform even launched, right?
Mm-hmm.
Man, I remember hearing about that case and like, obviously I'd heard about it in, you know, the general pipeline of trading card collectibles news. And then to hear like, oh my God, you know, this little startup I kind of stumbled on has, you know, connections to it. I thought that was fantastic. Obviously it turned out to be fake. There was a lot of evidence for that. They opened it up with,
Mm-hmm.
I think Logan was there, right? So he opened it. And yeah, I guess, yeah, I know it was your video that really kind of went viral as far as that goes. So that was great for you too, I'm sure. Bringing some awareness to you and your platforms. That's always fantastic. But yeah, like that was obviously like, you know, there's a lot of rumors in the pipeline outside of Liquid. Like I never heard anything from Liquid because by the time the platform launched, like that was way out of our minds. But I've heard rumors just in the community about like, you know, that, oh, it came from some random place in Canada, shady backstory, you know, like, okay, I guess it's starting to make sense that, you know, you're not going to find, you know, the grail in the haystack that easily, right? But it's a shame. It would have been awesome if that was real. I hope that there is a sealed case of base first fed somewhere because that'd be obviously a very fantastic historic item. I know, like, yeah, sealed product authenticate though. A lot of fake boxes, cases too, I guess. So yeah, it was pretty unfortunate.
Yeah. So, and I guess that whole ordeal, Michael the Pokaju was supposed to be an LMP employee or board member or something.
Yeah, I don't know what his agreement was with Liquid. That's like a,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I wasn't involved then, other than, you know, I think I'd done one expo, and every now and then they texted me like, oh, can you fill out this Excel sheet or whatever, you know? So
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's just like it from my end, definitely concerning the fact that it seems like everyone that was involved with that fake case, kind of from its inception and authentication or advice that was given to move that case all the way up to Logan and onto the platform, is like entirely Liquid Marketplace employees, and other than, you know,
well,
Steve
I
Hart
think that was one of the most
authenticating it.
exciting items that we kind of wanted to launch with, right? So it was kind of a
Yeah.
big deal because if that item was real and you know, it was priced and marketed appropriately, then you know, that's like a historic find. So I'm not surprised that a lot of people involved were, you know, involved because we wanted to, you know, make kind of a statement, I guess, with a really cool item and on a novel platform, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I think the other thing is that, you know, obviously not to discredit their reputation because it is very difficult to do this, but it was wrapped by BBCE.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I can speak with knowledge from working there that not everyone at Liquid Marketplace is a card fanatic, you know? So for them, it's like you kind of take it as you take it as the truth, when BBC or PSA, any one of these companies authenticates something, then that to them sort of means that, okay, that's authentic, you know? Obviously, it's really great we add some scrutiny, but unfortunately, fake things get authenticated. You can be shrewd for sure. I don't know exactly how obviously it's not easy for anyone to authenticate these types of items. So it's,
well, I mean,
like, I don't know,
Steve,
like, to me, it makes sense that they believed it was real and hoped it was real too, right?
Yeah, well, I don't know about that. I think it was a paycheck for Steve. Again, that's my opinion. But when there's receipts of him not wanting to authenticate a single box of it because it didn't have, Wizard's wrap on it or anything like that, and then he takes a cardboard box and authenticates that, it kind of points towards like he's just doing it for a buck. Maybe he's trying to get
Yeah,
put through
and
there
that's
so it can
maybe
get put
that's
into a
BBC is
vault.
something you got to ask them.
Yeah.
Like whatever his name is. But I don't work for BBC. I don't know
Hmm.
what their motivations were or their knowledge was going into it. I still believe that they're a pretty reputable source in the community. I know like PSA grades fakes, Beckett's graded fakes. It's unfortunate, and they still sort of are obviously well known in the community. CGC, I think you've made some videos on that. Sometimes grades fakes, right?
Hmm.
People still trust them. So as whatever BBCE was doing and their motivations, that's well beyond what I would know
Yeah.
as like some kid from Liquid, right? So
Yeah, it seems a little bit less, I guess, of an honest mistake at that point. And then also, not only does it kind of trail all the way into Liquid Marketplace where it'll be put in a vault and it never has to necessarily leave, but then also when Shine tells me that Logan never purchased the case itself, but they're still advertising the fact that he paid 2.7 million for it, and then it's going to go on the platform, and according to Shine, he's saying that Logan essentially didn't want to buy it anymore. They were going to put it on the platform instead. So at the very least, it's a fake sale, which is.
well, yeah, I mean, whatever you've heard from Shine, that's kind
Mhm.
of like I don't have any information that would confirm or deny that. I mean, you say fake sale. If someone paid 2.7 million for it, whether that was Logan or someone else, then
I mean, but advertising it
I
as
guess maybe
Logan
it's a
buying it for
misappropriated
2.7.
sale. Sure.
Yeah.
And again, like that's something maybe you should talk to Matt about because again, like I was in year 2 of university. I had
Mhm.
known Liquid guys for all of 2.5 months, so I don't
Yeah,
know.
I'm not saying that you necessarily were privy to that like information, but just in terms of
Yeah,
if
if
there's
it was a
anything related to that.
misappropriated sale, like misappropriated to Logan instead of other people, then that's
Yeah,
unfortunate.
it's
Although I
basically
think you
faking the
almost
sale.
contradicted yourself there because you said that Logan didn't purchase it, but that he didn't want to buy it, so he wanted to like sell it on Liquid. So I don't really know,
Right,
like
but
I don't know, maybe he did, maybe
in
he
terms of
didn't.
public announcements and everything else, he made it. He gave the illusion that he had purchased it for 2.7 million, which in turn, if it's going to be put on the platform for that, which it never was, or at least it wasn't publicly, using that 2.7 million dollar sale would be fraud because if the sale didn't happen and they're just going to put it on the platform for that
Yeah,
much money.
I don't know what like I can't speak to whether like criminal fraud was
Hmm.
conducted there by or who actually bought it. So like whatever theories you're kind of going on, sounds like you've done your research. I'm sure you could just like I don't have anything to confirm or deny those theories at all. But
Hmm.
yeah, like whether it's fraud, if they say someone bought it and someone else bought it, I don't know. You
Hmm.
tell me. Maybe like you've talked to a lawyer or something. But regardless, thankfully we were all able to find out. Your video helped tremendously. A lot of research, a lot of great people in the community really worked hard to, I guess, uncover the truth of the case. It was determined to be fraudulently created by someone with pretty ill intent. So thankfully that nothing ever happened with that. I hope the parties responsible, I guess, got what's coming to them. I hope no one lost too much on it. I don't know, but I think it'd be sort of the same unfortunate dilemma if it turned out that PSA graded a fake card that was sold on a platform, right? Like it's kind of
Hmm.
it's really really shitty. Of course, it's very unfortunate. I don't know exactly who's responsible, whether that falls on PSA's guarantee, which I know they have, but other grading companies maybe don't have guarantees, right? So who's kind of responsible then? We kind of just have to trust what the market leaders say. And I think still, but at the time as well, BBC was considered a market leader. So,
Yeah.
like, again, fantastic that it was uncovered. I know, like, especially looking at PSA stuff, tons of 90s basketball inserts, rubies, PMGs, those have been faked before. And some people do suffer considerable losses because of that, right? They're very
Hmm.
hard to authenticate those cards, even for PSA. So, This type of thing is not brand new to the hobby. It is unfortunate whenever it happens, and I'm just really glad that it was never sold on Liquid Marketplace. I'm glad that the truth was found out.
Yeah, there's one thing like a bad actor grading something and selling it, but then there's also, if there's a platform that's selling something, whether it's an auction house or anything else, if they know there's something wrong with it and they're just going to lean back on, oh, so-and-so authenticated it, then that's just as much of an issue as the person that counterfeited the thing from the beginning. And then if the person did both, and they're using a platform to liquidate something
these are
that
just rumors, Mike. Like, I don't know what you like. Obviously, you've already like agreed with me that I don't have any information here, but you know, like if you think that people, Matt, Logan, Liquid people, whoever, Michael Goldstein, BBC, whoever, they all knew that it was fake, it was a big conspiracy. Who knows? You know, some people believe that. I don't know. 9/11 was an inside job, and I'm sure you could like regularly actually find. Not that I believe that, but I'm sure you could find some documentation that can support almost any viewpoint. You know, at the end of the day, like I don't know anything else other than what you're telling me that Matt Shine told you, and I wouldn't. I'm not accredited enough to contradict anything he's saying. So if you heard something from Matt regarding whoever bought it and what the plan was, then I think you should definitely just trust Matt on that until there's new information that maybe supersedes it in some way.
Yeah, no, 100%. Was there any mention at Liquid about offering me a job?
About what, sorry?
About offering me a job.
Offering you a job at Liquid?
Or yeah, a job at Liquid or a place on the board or anything like that.
Not to me. There was definitely some mention of asking you, not to disparage, Ryan's partners. I think that definitely went a little too far. One thing to attack the company, possibly to attack him if you felt the need to, but his partners was pretty bad. I think that's the only thing I recall us ever talking about asking you is to, have some respect for people's significant others.
Okay. So the first one that was like an employee, or the second one that was potentially receiving funds from investors?
I mean, you tell me, were you offered a job? Were you offered funds or something?
I had Shine offer me a job. I had Jacob at one point in time with the fake case send me on his alternate Instagram account an offer of $500,000 to stop making the videos and take them down. And then I also heard that internally to Liquid that there was discussions about paying me to make the problem go away.
And sounds like you already have your answer, I guess.
I'm just wondering if wondering if you heard anything though of that sort.
No, that's I have no idea why people related or unrelated to Liquid or related in some capacity would do that. For me, my priority is just as a person and as a collector as well, would be let's make sure that we actually understand what it is we're selling. I've got stuff wrong before with selling, especially when it comes to variants, whatever. I really am open to receiving information about that. So if that's the case, that some people were who knows if those were legitimate, but if they were, then I think that definitely reflects badly on those people that offered you that money or those positions. But it was never brought to my attention that was a serious discussion. Yeah. But if you have a job offer, then I guess that would speak differently. So you should obviously trust in that.
Yeah, it was more like Shine saying, I guess, directly to me that this was before Liquid launched, essentially, and he was talking about getting me a seat on the board, and then I guess the Pokaju Michael got kind of kicked out to do with the case, and maybe the optics that provided was a bad look, or maybe Liquid didn't want to be associated with the case or didn't want people to know that the case was going to be on the platform.
Well, Logan's a co-founder of Liquid. He posted a whole video about the case. I don't know if he's
there was no mention in that video
that it was any information there, but I can definitely see that obviously optics surrounding anything fake are always poor, so it's better to make sure that a company's optics are positive. And yeah, like if that was a discussion, obviously it never came to fruition as an actual job offer. So I wouldn't, you know, take that too seriously, like a random internal discussion that never like materialized into anything, you know, if that happened.
Yeah, I mean, like, also, I don't know if we necessarily want to use Logan's video as a reference, because he was claiming that he lost money on it when, according to Shine, the person that supposedly sold it to him never actually sold it to him. Logan never paid for it, and Logan apparently, according to Shine, never intended to pay for the case. It was going to go on.
Yeah, so again,
instead,
that's like, I mean, you're getting information from like, you know, it seems like Shine's kind of your main source for stuff. If that's what happened and Shine knows that and is telling you that, then that's fantastic. I don't know what happened. So for me, Shine never told me any of those things. I never had that kind of discussion with Matt. So I will kind of just go with the video as sort of, you know, evidence that this wasn't trying to be swept under. Like this became pretty public. Everyone knows about that case. You know, if it was trying to be swept away, then people did a pretty poor job of it. So.
Was the PSA 10 Illustrator basically the replacement item for the
Sorry, there was a bus going by. I missed that question.
Oh, I was just asking, the PSA 10 Illustrator, was that essentially like the big ticket item that was going to, or it was supposed to replace the fake G.I. Joe case?
Yeah, that was the most valuable item listed on Liquid Marketplace for sure, right? What, five and a bit million, or 5 million on the dot, right? So that was
yeah, it was like a record sale, but it was also like trade value. And then I don't know if I necessarily trust any number that's coming from Logan, but that's just me. People can, yeah,
I mean,
think what they want to think.
Yeah, that was definitely the most valuable item listed on the platform, right? So obviously that's a great marketing piece, a great tool for trying to drive like adoption and engagement of the product. I think that, I mean, I bought some, I thought it was like fantastic. I like, you know, that card was on display at the National in Atlantic City, 2 years ago, right? So I got to see it there, and it's a beautiful, beautiful card. So I think definitely that was a big ticket item there. And again, like, I don't know about the purchase price. That's only what was advertised, but really, you know, you could question any private sale.
100%. I don't.
Right. So
we've seen that abused quite a few times with, especially big ticket items, private sales that are used as a reference by the auction houses and everything else.
Yeah, I mean, and especially when it's like a population one, like a grail, like the Illustrator, where, you know, for obviously some people have a different definition of what they value in the hobby. People have different sort of collection priorities, but to a lot of people, you know, it doesn't really get much better than PSA 10 Illustrator. You know, that was a sort of known popular card back since the year 8. So it's not earlier. So it's a very famous card in the hobby. The PSA 10 is definitely like a lot of people were involved in the transaction for that card, you know, like I saw obviously Dubby's videos. I know Marco was involved in that. A lot of people, like, it was a big transaction. So if there's, you know, full hobby-wide fraud, then that's obviously not something I don't know about.
Yeah.
But the Guinness World Records did certify it, and I do know for a fact that Guinness does quite work, especially when it comes to things like this. So they would have seen the bank statements for that. But
or trade value if they're going to use
recommend sending an email to Guinness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry?
Also, we were talking about grading company errors and stuff like that before. It's kind of the 10 is kind of a little bit of like it's famous and it's infamous at the same time because it was a 9 multiple times before it was a 10.
Oh yeah, you know, I've cracked 9s and gotten them to 10s before. I think anyone who's graded pretty consistently has done that. I've also have lots of misgraded cards myself. I remember, you know, one of the biggest personal collection purchases I made was a card on PWCC. I was gonna say the name of the card, but then I kind of, maybe I shouldn't, I guess. But it was a pretty cool card, a couple $1,000. It was pretty big for me. I bought it from PWCC, graded at 10. It was already graded. And then I get the card in hand, and I'm like, oh shoot, you know, it has some edge or it has a dent that you can't really see in those scans. Yeah, it sucks. You know, like, I have no idea. I never got to look at that Illustrator copy when it was raw. And obviously, like PSA, like it was on display by PSA at the Nationals, so a lot of people got to take a good look at it. If they noticed some flaws, you know, PSA stands by it. That's kind of it, right?
I mean, they kind of have to at this point. They don't want to pay out the difference, whatever that like actual difference might be. It's the same thing if you send in a card and it's like, oh yeah, this should probably be a 9. If you send it in, it's a 10. You know, the vast majority of the time, they're not going to want to downgrade that and pay you out the difference on it, because especially in this case,
for sure,
with an Illustrator
that
costs
like their own
single digits.
Sort of internal policies, man.
Dollars.
Like that's not like, you know, Liquid's problem in any way. What PSA grades or not, you know, like if you're only going by like virtually perfect cards, like, you know, your Beckett Black labels, then, you know, nothing is really a 10, especially nothing on Liquid. I don't think we listed any black labels. So I think you're just going to have to trust what the grader says. If, you know, PSA is a massive company. I think if there were like egregious flaws with it, like it was creased down the middle or something, then they would admit error or pay that out. Like, I don't think like a couple $1 million is that big a deal to them. But if it is, and you know, they're still standing by it, then at the end of the day, that's kind of what it is, you know? Like, I know you personally aren't a huge fan of grading for this exact reason, but you got to admit people do buy the grade, not the card, a lot of times, especially when it comes to low pop stuff. You know, first edition Charizards, whatever there is, 123 of them. In a 10, I've seen many copies. I personally wouldn't grade above a 7 or an 8, so that's kind of just the way the hobby goes. Yeah, stick to Beckett, I guess, if you like your 210s, even then Beckett makes mistakes. I have some misgraded Beckett cards, so what can you do, right?
With Pokemon, it came out that there's a former Beckett employee that's claiming that when they were doing Pokemon prior to the pandemic, there was one guy there and he was being paid as an entry-level grader. There was one person grading Pokemon, essentially.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
yeah, so that I think that explains a lot. That's pretty funny. I mean, I guess Pokemon was never Beckett's biggest market. Obviously, they had their sports card price catalog that really made them like a hobby, you know, very important figure in the hobby and have a lot of importance, right? So that was just really for sports. Maybe they should have adapted to the times, although I don't know if we've ever tried to submit cards for Beckett using their online system, but they got a lot of adapting to do there. They got a pretty poor UI, in my opinion. So, yeah, that's very cool to know, though, that they only had one person. That's very interesting.
They kind of seem like they're on their way out with most stuff based on the numbers and stuff like that. But
potentially, yeah. Like I've seen, like there's a couple Instagram accounts that report the number of graded cards each company adds to their pop reports each week, each day. And I think I've seen like Beckett is falling. A lot of times it's lower than CGC and maybe even SGC now. I could be wrong about that, but yeah, it definitely seems like they are not getting the adoption they used to. PSA is really taken over, and CGC, I guess, is kind of the second option. So, yeah, it's a shame whenever that happens to a company that obviously has a lot of like historical importance to the hobby. I don't think they'll ever go away. I'd be shocked to see that, but maybe they'll get acquired. Who knows? It'll be interesting to see.
Possible. I guess a few more things here, and I'll let you go. With the OSC, I guess their documents and the articles and everything like that. I'm just wondering if you can give your perspective on their claims that there wasn't really a vault and there might not even have been insurance on a lot of these items. That
yeah,
it was more of like
I do have an opinion on that for sure. And this comes from like actual knowledge of this. So from what I understand, and not just from what I understand, from what I witnessed, because these assets were all vaulted as PSA, like, you know, Liquid or has like a PSA account that every single one of the assets is in. And I've seen that account, right? So I know that for sure. I think like the problem that the Ontario Securities Commission had with the, you know, I think they even questioned the authenticity a little bit, right? The authenticity and the insurance is that they didn't really understand what PSA was, and that PSA was authenticating and insuring them and not us. because yeah, like I don't think we had any like private insurance or private authenticators that weren't, PSA, right? But PSA, like you go to their website and look at the information for their vault, and they talk all about it's state of the art, it's the biggest in the world, it is fully insured, security, guards, whatever, climate
They had
controlled.
the sci-fi walls
Oh,
with the cards all over them and stuff.
sorry?
The sci-fi walls with the neon lights and
That was the eBay one, right? The images
yeah.
eBay launched. That looked pretty funny. I don't know what it actually looks like. I've never been there. I don't know if they give tours or not, but
I can't imagine the storage. The storage cost on that if you get like, 10 square feet for your graded card.
yeah, who knows, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, 100%. Like, unless PSA, like Collectors Universe or whatever, is lying about insuring and authenticating cards, which obviously we discussed. Sometimes inauthentic things can be authenticated, but at least they're supposed to stand by that. Unless they're lying about the insurance, then I guess, right? Whatever is in that article are kind of like the things that are being alleged. So I'm guessing there'll be documentation provided to them that will show, like, you don't believe in the insurance, ask PSA to see the insurance policy. I don't know if they will provide that. Maybe they will if it's the OSC asking, but yeah, like we as Liquid Marketplace don't have any insurance on assets other than PSA's insurance because they're stored with PSA. I don't think we could even insure someone else's building. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's all I have for that. But
Okay. Yeah, they made it
yeah.
like the OSC stuff made it sound like it was just like a regular safety deposit box somewhere.
Oh
And
God.
then also
We
I
actually
heard,
there's a video of us handing them off to Ken Golden, or Logan handing them off to Golden, We
yeah,
didn't
whether
film
or
that
not
video,
was that
then
everything
take
though,
them
or
from
is that
Ken and sorry?
was it everything though?
I don't know if everything's featured in the video, but
Oh, no,
everything
no.
was given. But
Okay,
whatever's in the
everything was
video was
passed over.
probably just whatever they could hold,
Yeah. Go,
But
so
there's
like, I
like
mean,
briefcases
it could have
and
been like
whatever.
select items. Like Logan is probably
No,
not putting
no.
the Illustrator in like a regular safety deposit box or something. No, no.
No, nothing in a regular safety deposit box. This is all like even before they were handed off to Golden, they were in like a private storage and private storage and insurance company. Like at no point were they, sitting around in some box somewhere that wasn't insured by, a company a lot bigger than Liquid.
Okay. Yeah, I heard like internally also that that Ryan had some of it on his desk. So I don't know if that was like maybe
I
that was a
don't remember
temporary
seeing
thing or
any
maybe the
assets
less
that was
valuable.
live on the platform on his desk. I do remember seeing assets that were going to be listed.
Okay.
And then they were vaulted, and then we listed them. But there was never anything on his desk that was like, active on the platform. So
Okay. Just prior to kind of thing.
no, like just prior to, meaning before the drop, sure. And then they were authenticated or vaulted, and then they were, because obviously, like these are expensive things. We were a startup, If we listed something and then someone dropped it, or a seagull came out of the sky and took it, or whatever happens, like as a small company, it's kind of hard to even think about the fact that we might just take like $100,000 loss due to mishandling something. So I like PSA insures everything fully, and I'm pretty sure that vault is free or pretty cheap. I don't know how much they charge, but I think they only charge to take things out, right? So yeah, like that's like a big thing. Everything has to be insured because accidents happen, right? Like I've dropped cards and accidentally damaged them even in a slab. It sucks, right? So
Yeah.
thankfully that never happened. Everything listed was in a vault.
What else do I got here? Two more questions. I have, was there actually any sign or that there's an app coming, or did you get to try something out, or it seems like it's been like
I got to try something out.
It's coming soon, forever.
A while ago, Ryan asked me to walk through a test app and just give my feedback as someone who, this is not when I was working there anymore, but just as someone who's familiar with it and also still involved in collectibles. Yeah, definitely had its shortcomings for sure, but I thought in general it was pretty solid. And I was very disappointed that it didn't, get to come out. I don't know if I ever saw the final version, but I definitely played around with a little test it. I think like on an actual phone. So I guess there was like some APK or whatever file of it. It's a shame it never went live because, yeah, like I said, like it wasn't perfect, but it was pretty cool. You could buy and sell stuff like one-to-one. You could list things. It had kind of all that functionality. It wasn't final though, so I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know if that was just kind of like a falsely showing signs of something's
Like
coming, but
fluff
nothing.
or
was
whatever.
ever-
Yeah.
Like if it
I
was,
don't know.
it's a big difference if it's
Yeah.
something that was actually a work in progress versus just some kind of like filler space on the website. And since
No,
Logan's not
like
doing it.
I did play around with it. I was told that basically the coding was done for it, and it just needed kind of like a reskin for a design or whatever, and actually to be connected to whatever internet connectivity things apps need to run. I've never built an app. I have no idea, but yeah, it was there. To be honest, I might even have a video of it. I can try to dig that up, but I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. Just to go back on the Illustrator for a second, are you familiar with how much of that Illustrator that was held back? Like how many tokens were retained by Logan? Was it the majority of them?
I don't know the majority. I think he said he was keeping some, right? But like I only know what was posted on Instagram. And then I was told when to post the Instagram post, or I was helping copyright for it, whatever. And then I was told when it sold out, and we were all very excited about that. So
Okay.
that's kind of it there. It was very exciting. I don't know, I guess, what ended up happening, but when we were told it sold out, it was like, internally everyone was like super excited, super happy. It was a pretty big deal, right? It's the Pokemon card, in a lot of people's eyes, right? So it was cool.
Yeah. So the thing that's like a little bit worrying about that, or maybe not a little bit, very worrying about that, is the fact that like Liquid kind of had the ability to determine how many tokens were held back or how many tokens could be retained by the original owner of the item. And
Like the
when
technological
decisions,
ability to do that, you mean? Or
I guess just in the setup process, or like when something is going up for sale, when something is launching.
yeah, like
If Logan
Liquid
can
owns
keep more
its
of
own,
that.
like tech, right? So
Yeah.
it was I don't know, like we advertised, I guess, what I thought was happening. I can't say that did happen or didn't happen now, but yeah, like technologically speaking, everything was under control by us. Like we can do
Okay.
things that we need to, right?
Yeah, but I think that was just like that was in the terms and conditions and stuff like that, that it was basically at the discretion of Liquid Marketplace that somebody, the original owner of an item, can retain more or less. Because I think the
Yeah, I think that's
default was like 20% or something
lawyers
like that.
like those terms and conditions were not like necessarily written by us insofar as they were written by like third-party lawyers. And there's no like trading card lawyers out there, so these were like actual legal teams. I don't exactly remember what law firms. I'm sure maybe if you ask Ryan, he might be able to tell you that. But like there were a lot of lawyers involved. Like this is like the OSC is getting involved. There's a lot of money involved, a lot of like high-profile collectibles and stuff. This was a very intensive process from a lawyer's perspective, right? Like making sure everything was running smoothly and everyone's covered and everything is, safe. Like users are safe and Liquid is safe and people who submit their assets are safe, right? So whatever lawyers felt was necessary to put in there was what they put in there.
Yeah. So I don't know if you got wind or caught wind of it, but people recently got notifications that had tokens in the Illustrator that the item is sold, but there's no details on who it sold to or how it sold or what's going on with that.
So I mean, I do know it's sold. Yeah, I don't know who it was sold to, and I guess that's kind of like, obviously we're not gonna. Whoever knows, I don't know if like Ryan and them know, but if I assume they're not gonna, publish a buyer's name without their permission. So if it's anonymous right now, I think that's like, the buyer wants it to be anonymous. But I did hear it's sold. From my understanding, everyone's gonna like get paid out and do pretty well. I think, That was pretty exciting. When that email came out, I owned some tokens too, So I was psyched. Someone made an offer. It was voted. That's fantastic.
Okay. I don't know if anyone else had, anyone that I spoke to or posted about it, it didn't seem like they were given the opportunity to vote on it in any way. And then also depending on how many tokens were kind of still held by Logan or anyone associated with, like whether or not they could just overpower the vote, and if he could take the card back, if he could purchase the card from himself, and then if the tokens are worth less than what they were before, maybe you're just kind of buying your own stuff back at a discount.
Yeah, I mean, like, Mike, I don't know who the buyer is. Okay. I don't know. Like, I got that email, and then I was like, oh, it actually sold, and I was told, yep. So
okay. There was no mention that it was or it wasn't Logan.
Like, I'm waiting to get paid out to see exactly what's going to happen.
Okay.
I think once, wait till people get paid out, I guess, and then like if you have questions, maybe I'll know more. Then you can call me back.
Okay. Yeah. If you hear anything too, you can send me a message. If there's anything that like maybe we touched on or you remember, or if there's anything that happens with that Illustrator, feel just
like
send me a message.
If I find out anything that's like worth sharing, I guess, then I'll let you know.
Oh, cool. All right. I appreciate it. I guess, okay, one last question. I just want to know what the conversation or reasoning was by Ryan for not having you on the call last time.
Last time meaning like what, 2 years ago?
The Discord like live that we did.
Oh, yeah, I think that's because Ryan didn't know how to like start a Discord call. Oh. I think I was there to like make sure that he didn't like mute himself or disconnect. Okay. Because like I was like the main admin on Discord, right? So I had more like super user, I guess, permissions.
I think he was on his own
running around.
Account,
I think he was doing it on his phone. Okay. He did have his own account, yeah, but I don't think he knew like anything else. Like I think, if I remember correctly, I set up that account for him. Like,
okay,
he's a great guy. Well, I only know him from how I know him, not from anything else. I never had any bad experiences with him personally, but yeah, technologically savvy, I would say, not as far as Discord goes.
Okay, yeah, makes sense. All right. Yeah. Thank you very much. My apologies if you're late for anything.
Before you go, I just wanted to ask, like, what are you up to nowadays? Like, are you where do you work? I know you used to do like chemical equipment sales and stuff. Like, are you still doing that, or just like casually? Like I know, like, or is YouTube like a full time thing for you? Or?
No, YouTube's like full time now. YouTube. And, and
congratulations!
Stuff, but yeah,
that's great that it's full time. I'm glad you've been growing your account like this. So
it's definitely a grind. I got some hurdles to deal with. A little bit of a legal battle currently, which is fun.
Yeah, but, I mean, I've heard what's going on there. Kind of on you, man. That's but whatever. You'll see what happens. That was pretty funny when I heard about that.
Yeah, it's interesting stuff.
You still living out east, or?
I am still out east, yeah.
Nice. Yeah. All right. Well, it's good to chat with you.
Thank you for the talk.
Again, like,
any bit of information
send me a text if you have a question about, like, I don't know, about anything, I guess. I hope my answers are pretty candid. I hope it makes good sound bites for the video. Like, I did really try to be, like, I was honest for everything. I wish I knew more to tell you, to be honest, because like, as I said, this whole situation was a complete shock to me, and I'm really looking for answers on a lot of things as well. I don't watch many of your videos, but maybe I'll hear how my voice sounds on audio, and maybe get more of insights if you have any during that video.
Perfect. Yeah, I think the biggest thing is there's a lot of people both on the like primary investor side and then also on the user side that are kind of in the dark with a lot of this stuff. So any bit of information to get to them so that they can kind of know what's going on is appreciated.
Yeah, I mean, I hope I give some sort of enlightening information for at least some people, but like, I'm looking for answers too, so I guess we'll all see what happens.
Yeah, we'll have to stay tuned to see what happens with the whole OSC stuff. But...
Yes, sir. All right.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Yeah, thanks for your time. Have a good day. Bye.